Very good afternoon, friends. Very good evening. So probably we can say the twilight zone, twilight time. We can consider that. So welcome once again. So the second session of this strategy class, um, almost like a fortnight before the examination. Approximately, I would say approximately about 24 days you have before you have to sit for the examination. 24 days. Before I move on to this, I would like to say one important revelation what Osho, one of the greatest philosophers who's been exported from India to US. So India made a product. Uh, he talked about what is called the second layer of energy. What is the second layer of energy actually speaking? When you engage yourself in a physical activity, within a short duration, you hit a point of exertion. Like, no, this is my level, this is what my capacity is, I cannot go beyond that. But actually, what he says is, this is really not what you are capable of. He says, with a little perseverance and with a little determination, if you push, he says, you actually tap into what is called as a reserve energy of what you are. Once you touch that, it has a greater endurance. How many times you felt studying 2 days before the examination? Most likely you tap into the second layer of your energy. It is talking about it. And what I really feel is it's almost greater if you touch this layer and tap into what it can do to you, what it can offer to you 24 days before the examination than a week or 2 days before it. So remember, if you feel you are weak, I'm saying you are still grazing on the top level of what you can do. If you dig a little deeper, if you push a little more, you reach what is called a second level of your energy potential, which is capable of making you to do far, far, far more. Probably in yesterday, Shivaraj sir would have given you a brief list of what you have to do with respect to this last days of examination. I don't want to touch upon it as a repetition. Of course, sir would have touched in a very comprehensive manner. I would like to touch upon certain other aspects in my own way. Okay. So, what we can think? Please, maybe a few tips, and then we'll try to look at the questions. But here, I want to be very clear. Please remember, I don't want this class to be another regular class where you will be given information, you will take notes, you go back and memorize it. No, I don't want that. I want you guys to understand here. Okay? It is that understanding that has to happen, not something like a taking content back home. I don't want this to be a content based class. Please remember that. So be as light as possible. Okay? But be as focused as possible. Be very focused, but be very light and be very casual. Okay, don't exert yourself to take notes so much unless you compel to take notes, unless you feel that yes, this seems valuable for me. Okay, so maybe a few tips we'll try to see. The first I would like to tell you is, please realize nobody is the same in the earth. So when I say this is the strategy for you, I'm in fact putting everyone in one umbrella. I cannot just do that. But you need to know the basic idea of this revision schedule. Okay, so one revision schedule for all will not work. Among you, you would have been stronger in a differential way in different subjects. Some might be stronger in polity but weaker in history. Some might be stronger in history in different levels and might be weaker in current affairs. Okay, but generally what has to be done is, you please have your own revision schedule. The idea is this: at least have 2 revision. That's what I will say. Before you sit for the examination, you should have at least 2 revisions, quick revision of the entire syllabus. This is one thing I would like to tell you. So this quick revision must be done in a quicker manner. That is the key point. It has to be quicker. Keep that in mind. It has to be quicker. How to do it? It's up to you. You please lay out a map for yourself. Probably, as I've said earlier about 2 revisions, okay? Do not venture into new areas. It's a very standard suggestion, guys. Do not venture into new areas, because this venturing into new areas, I will say, it is not because of the chances of clearing it. No, this venturing into new areas, studying new areas, is actually, I feel, it's because of your fear. What if I miss this area, and what if UPSC asks a question? And I'm saying, if you do any action out of fear, it won't give you the good results. So don't do any action out of fear. Don't. So what you have covered so far, and I believe in one thing, guys. When you believe it or not, I believe in one thing. Whatever that you have studied so far, you have put your heart and soul into the preparation. I believe that. Whatever that you've done so far, you do that for the next 24 days and strengthen it. Nothing new. That will help you. Don't feel inadequate. Don't feel inadequate. Don't feel that I'm incomplete. No. Just remember one thing. Just remember. You don't have to worry about toughest questions. Forget it. Toughest questions is tough for everyone, isn't it? Toughest questions is tough for everyone. You are looking for reading new areas. Your eagerness to cover as much as possible. You know the reason? For example, I'll tell you. In the last 4 or 5 years, there is a lot of question about national parks, wildlife sanctuaries and all, the species and the distribution. You know what the students are doing in the last minute? They'll be looking at all the national parks as much as possible, their forest vegetation type, the flora and fauna, the river that's flowing there. You should have done it lot back, not now. Why you're doing it now? Because of the fear. Don't do that. So your revision, you have to do 2 revisions, but not in the way out of fear, but to get stronger what you have done already. At least do 2 revisions, which is quicker in nature. In the first revision, I will say, try to focus on your weak spots, not the unknown areas. It's on certain weak areas. Everybody will be having 1 or 2 weaker areas, right? Focus on the weaker areas. That's what I will say as a general suggestion. What is your weaker subject? You decide on yourself. That is probably you be a better person to know that. Second suggestion, what I would like to tell you is do mock tests. Of course, some of you might be doing it. Some of you might be overdoing it. Some of you might altogether eliminate it. Fine. But doing mock test, there is a different take-home lesson which I would like to tell you guys. In general, nowadays, okay, the students whom I meet in the last phase of the preparation, they do the mock test with the different objectives. Some people do the test as a revision. You guys accept that? They do it as a revision. They want to revise the topics. Rather than studying the whole book, they think it's easy to study the questions. Questions, in fact, represents core area of the subject. So it's revision of the core area. Is it good? Of course it's good. Is it bad? Of course it's bad. It's both. Like Kadavul Padi, Mirungam Padi in Tamil language we say, it's both of good and evil. So for what purpose you have to do the mock test? As a revision? Yes. But more than that, there is something called as fine tuning of your answering has to happen. Please remember, the second is most important. Okay. Now everybody, I don't want an answer actually, but be honest with yourself. That you have taken tests so far in the last 1 year, you would have taken many tests, you would have taken many tests. Good. In these tests, have you got wrong answers for known areas? Have you made wrong answers for known areas, very well known areas? Why? If it is unknown, forget it. That's not a big deal because it's unknown. Anyhow, you made an attempt. Let us praise the courage you have to attempt it, fine. But what about known areas and you still made error? The point is this: when are you going to correct this? You're trying to keep on accumulating the knowledge and the content, but still the purpose of this content is actually to do the correct answers for the known areas in the examination hall. That is what the real purpose is. If you keep making errors, then what? The result is going to be very unpredictable, right? I believe in one thing, guys. You put your hard effort. I still believe in that. I have no second thought on that. But if I say I'm 100% assured that you will succeed in the prelims examination, you give your guarantee back. Sir, I will never make wrong in the areas that I know. Can you give that assurance? Then I will say that you will clear it. If you can't give that assurance, then you need to know where the mistake happens, right? That is what I call it as fine tuning. This actually, frankly speaking, this fine tuning should have happened the last 6 months, but no problem. Never is the time is too late. If you do it today, that's fine. And what I have understood from my own experience of my exposure to UPSC and having been in contact with many aspirants and young minds like you guys, I came across this one thing. I shared with many students also earlier. You think that you're all not getting good marks in prelims examination, you're feeling difficulty in clearing UPSC examination because I haven't read well. But I believe in only just one thing, guys. I just strongly believe in one thing. Out of the common errors you do, fundamentally I'll say these are the two common problems. You rectify at least one problem, you identify that and you rectify that one. It will give a boost of about 15 to 20 marks, net marks, you believe it. The idea is this: whatever that you have read, you should not make errors in that, right? You get it? So that also should be the goal of this doing mock tests. That we will try to do today. Usually how our focus meanders, we usually talk about meandering of polar jet and the cold wave in the North American region, we all talk about that. But our focus also meanders. Then next I would like to talk about this, the rounds that we do in the the papers. I hope that everybody is following this. I hope. Because the 100 questions, nobody will do unless you are a non-serious candidate. A serious candidate won't attend all the 100 questions in the one round. They must be lunatic. Don't take me wrong. They must be lunatic if they do that. Even if UPSC chairman comes and attends it, even he will do 2 rounds. It's not that easy actually. So the point is, you will do 2 rounds or in an optimal way 3 rounds. First round is where you are very confident of, right? Which usually takes a minimum time, right? I want to tell you guys, this first round must be the key for your good marks. When you do the mock test, please remember why I'm saying that. Because when you do this first round of iteration, probably it may be 35 questions, it may be 45, I don't know. It differs. Once again, everybody is unique. I cannot give a common number. It may be anything, even 25, it doesn't matter. If you're a very reserved person, okay, very reserved and a very non-risk taking, you will choose only what you absolutely know, right? So it might be 25, or you may be a risk taker, you may reach up to 40. But please understand, it is this first round which should be the most rewarding in your whole UPSC prelims paper. Because this is the area where you are confident of. This is an area where you are very sure of the answers, right? So when you do the mock test, please see how much of correct answers you get in the first round. Out of the second round or the third round, of course you will go with that, but first round must be the most productive of your examination. If you are not doing that, if you are not getting that, why I said if I'm not doing that, giving test and moving to the next test, I'm telling you, it is going to be waste exercise. It's a waste of time. You have to evaluate where things had gone bad, where you made the wrong answers. You have to evaluate yourself, guys. We usually tend to think it is only the mains examination that needs evaluation. No, even prelims need to be done, because it is in the prelims we do the silliest and the most costliest mistakes. You know, costliest why? You have to wait for one more year. You do these errors, you continue to repeat these errors, you have to wait one more year. One more year, guys, it's not a small time. One more year of your life, one more of your attempt, one more of the pressure from the family. I don't want to give any pressure, guys. I don't want to build any pressure. I just want to tell you the seriousness of certain things, what you have to do. So after the test, you have to do evaluation, at least now. And believe it, it will be worthy. So first round. Then we will move on to second round, right? Usually in the second round is where you will narrow down some wrong statements. You will stick with kind of, either this or that. Kind of 50-50 option where you come to the second round. Third round, what? These are the areas where you kind of, only one statement is known. It's or something unknown. But it is a second round. You have to be extremely careful. But I don't worry much about second round, actually speaking. Except a few mistakes. Second round usually will be very careful. Why? Because you already know it is something very tricky. You already know 50-50. So naturally, you give your best focus to the second round, naturally. But first round, you are in the comfort zone. Oh, this is an area known to me. That is where you become slacky. That is where you afford to miss your focus. When you miss your focus, you commit errors. Like how a driver makes an accident when they lose the focus in the road, right? Like that. So third round, never mind. But it is the second round that you need to work on, usually when you do the mock test. And it is a first round which you must be absolutely sure not to expand your errors. So please do, from now onwards, please do the mock tests. That is one thing that I would like to tell you, not just for revision, but to realize yourself where you make the errors and correct it. Of course, we'll try to do some, I don't know whether we can cover all the slides that I prepared, that's usual, but at least few things where we touch upon. Then, so this is what I'm saying once again, identify the rounds which are rewarding or punishing. The next is identify your blind spot while attempting mock questions. The next thing I would like to tell you, identify the blind spot. You know what is a blind spot? You have your eye, let's say eye, and we have retina at the back of the eye. You know that, right? Retina is at the back of the eye. And the nerve, visual nerve, which comes and connect to that. In the retina, the cells for vision is all located along the retina except here where the nerve is coming and joining. The place where the nerve is joining, there is no cells to visual. The cone cells and the rod cells won't be there. That point actually will not be visible to you. That actually scientifically, biologically is called as a blind spot. We all have our own blind spots. You guys have any experience of realizing yourself that, this is my blind spot. I continuously make mistakes there? If not, I'm telling you, you identify at least one blind spot of yours, and you correct it. And mark my words, you clear this prelims. If you correct at least one blind spot, I'm very sure that you will clear it. One blind spot. In the one blind spot, I want to tell you, this is more like a shape-shifting alien. That one blind spot takes many forms in many questions. In one question, it comes in one format. In another question, it comes in another way. But it's ultimately the same. So you correct once. At the root, you cleave it out, cleave it off. The benefit will be so much. Now is the time to identify what that blind spot is. Then the mistakes. Coming to the last part, the mistakes. In fact, I shared with one of the students here. You know what is the most important asset for the whole human life? The most important asset for the very human life. It is that we think as the most precious. You're conscious, you know. Why people fear death? Because they lose conscious. They lose it. Their very existence been lost. When I say conscious, what is an indication of your conscious? Your focus. You see the successful people, please mark it. Any successful people in the world, this is the asset for them. And not only for them, I'm telling you, for any humans, focus is the only asset, the only property nature has given to you. The focus. Think about it. Where you give your focus, you excel in that, right? A musician who spends hours and hours of practice means they're putting the focus in that activity. They become masters in that. Any person in sports, in politics, any activity you take, please understand your focus is the only asset you have in your whole life. And it is where you put the focus, you become master in that. You put focus in many different areas, you become jack of all. The same focus is also very crucial in this examination. Understand, 2 hours of focus is very much required. You need to sustain that stamina, to have that focus like a laser, to be sustained during the whole 2 hours of examination. So what you have to do, probably understand, you need to, when you do the mock test, okay, now I suggest you to do the mock test. Please understand, when your focus gets diverted, mark it immediately. Like a old story where a master says to a child, if you get angry, take a nail and punch it into the wall, wooden wall. Every time when you get angry, you punch it in the wooden wall. You remember that story, right? Likewise, whenever you feel that your focus is diverting, the only way to deal with meandering focus, I told you about meandering focus, is to bring that into focus. Very simple. If you bring that into focus, that will last. This whole problem, what I'm saying, okay? Focus is like a torchlight in a dark room. When you sit in the examination hall, when you see the question paper, which part of the word in the question you focus, you will get responses from your content. Your mind brings back in the memory. Please understand, you put your focus on the wrong part of the question, you get a wrong interpretation. You understand what I'm saying? Focus is like a torchlight. So you must be very careful. What part of the question that I choose? Do you guys know that in UPSC prelims, some 25 questions is somewhat directly come from what you have studied. Every other question you have to guess the most appropriate answer, right? In all these times, understand, in the 75-80 questions, in all these 75-80 questions, you need to properly focus in the proper part of the question. You understand what I'm saying? The significance of taking the right part of the question. You take unimportant part of the question or some insignificant part of the question, or you miss that part, your mind will give different answers. And I'm telling you, UPSC will give a correct wrong answer for that wrong focus. And you won't think second. You won't think twice. You will immediately choose the wrong answer and go ahead. You'll never come back also because you marked it. Gone. All this you will come to know only after the exam is over, when you discuss, oh my God, what a silly mistake I did. You'll realize it. Have you gone through all that, right? All this happened because you focus on somewhere which is not important. So this understanding you need to have when you do these mock tests. So mechanical jumps. How many people have seen not in a question? Or how many people have seen not, but when reading the statement you missed to interpret it? Or how many people you've seen that, but when you choose the option you missed it? This I'm calling it as mechanical jump. Why? Once again, lack of focus. Second, pre-conclusions. This is also I was talking with one of the students. Please do not judge the answer before you read all the options. What I say looks very simple. Sir, that's what I'm doing, sir. But you don't understand it in a very fundamental, basic manner, I'm saying. Never ever mark the answer before completely reading all the statements. If there's a 3-statement question or a 2-statement or a 4-statement, never choose an option before you do that. But unfortunately, many times it happens unconsciously, guys. முன்னாடி choose பண்ணிடுவீங்க. You already chosen it. And you know how the mind works, you already chosen that. And for that chosen answer, you will find a correct statement for that. It is not the correctness of the statement. You first choose the answer, then you choose the best one. We'll try to do that. Probably this is what I'm talking is actually I'm moving on to a very abstract concept. What's happening in your mind? Probably it is not very easy to describe in a live session sitting before the students or through YouTube. It is not easy to describe that, explain that. But what I'm saying is, usually we think that way. We first choose, then we find reasons for that. The same thing happens here also. Very unconsciously it happens. That's what I call it as pre-conclusions. And I'm telling you, if you avoid these two things, rather than pre-concluding the option, never ever do that. The second important thing is, as I've said earlier, like a torch which focuses is where you will see the objects in a dark room. Where the torch focuses, you will see there. Likewise, you have to have right assumptions. Why I'm using the word assumption? Because in UPSC, majority of the questions are we are assuming. There is no precise answer for that. But that assumption should not be on wrong logic. Why the wrong logic? Once again, if you focus on the wrong part of the question, your logic will actually work in that way. So this is what I would like to tell you. You try to eradicate at least one of that. The mechanical errors or pre-conclusions or assuming on wrong logic. If you avoid any of this, you can get a best productive outcome in the mock test also. Believe it or not, you have to believe it. You have to do it to believe it. When you think about it, probably you'll find, this may work, this may not work. You take a mock test and just find it now itself. Right? I'm claiming it will work. I'm claiming it will work. Believe that. So this is what I would like to say as a general strategy. Okay? So what I have told you is more psychological. It's nothing about kind of very concrete one. Concrete one, like, there are many gurus. I'm not saying here. Gurus in online particularly, like certain words. For example, in science questions, science and technology questions, choose a right answer. If you don't know the answer, choose D. Have you came across those suggestions? Yeah. UPSC examiners. Or the word only comes, always comes. The qualifying nature, which is called as qualifying words. When the so-called qualifying word comes, it always will be wrong. No, never trust that. What I will tell you is, as I said earlier, that means, what they are doing? It's pre-conclusion. When the only comes, they are already pre-concluded. That's wrong. You have to see the credit. When you pre-conclude, I will say it's a hit and miss. You may get it right, you may not get it right. As a student, as an aspirant who prepared for 1 year or sometimes more than 1 years, would you like to bet on these simple strategies? No. They will say some strategies and they'll move on. I'm telling you guys, you are paying for that. You have to wait for another 1 year. From the first word of this question paper to the last word of the question paper, okay, if you view it with its own credit, not because only, not because always, like in cricket we used to say, every ball has to play according to the credit of the ball. If any batsman prejudge before the ball comes, I'll hit it here, most probably will get out. You have to always play according to the credit of the ball. Never prejudge, guys. This is for, I don't know, because the industry in the North India is so large and the competition is cutthroat. They always want to give suggestion strategies to the students, actually making them, don't take me wrong, stupid. I don't want the students to be stupid. You are going to become officers. Would you going to believe on some kind of simple strategy that only comes it will be wrong? Will an IAS officer do that? Will an IPS officer do that? No, I won't. I will not suggest that. Never believe on that. From the first word of the question to the last word, always see each and every word and take the credit of the statement, and based on what you have understood, if you possible, go with the first round or go with the second. What I say may not be acceptable to all, but that's what the reality is. Fine. So what I will do, let's move now to the questions. Okay. So actually I've taken the last 3 years questions. I don't know whether we can do all the questions, but we'll do as much as possible. Okay. Who knows? A trigger may happen to you in different parts of the question. I don't know, because it's very subjective. The question says, why is a plant called Prosopis julifera often mentioned in news? It looks like a very simple question. For those who have studied Prosopis julifera, maybe you would have known about what the plant is about. But for those who are not, or for those who have forgotten, I'm telling you, this julifera, that is where UPSC's intelligence comes, guys. Julifera is something very closer to aloe vera. Julifera, aloe vera. And aloe vera is actually a plant used in cosmetics. It's extract. Do not think that they have used this statement just for the sake of it. They have seen the UPSC aspirants for more than half century. They know how you guys think. So then, it tends to reduce the biodiversity in the area in which it grows. In fact, that is the right answer. That is the right answer actually for this question. Its extract is used in the synthesis of pesticides. None of the above. There are usually students who feel that whenever the none of the above comes, it means more than the possibility of that, this will be the correct answer usually. See, the point is this. If you know about Prosopis julifera, you know it is an invasive alien species. Taken to India mainly for the fuel wood in the beginning of the 20th century from South America. We all know that. But I would like to say another point also. There is another plant called as Prosopis cinenaria. This looks very similar in sound, right? But this is not an invasive plant. Prosopis cinenaria, in fact, is a plant that has a much use in the local usages, in the local traditional usages, benefits. Particularly, it is in fact the state tree of Rajasthan. But here also you see, it is an invasive alien species. But see how UPSC has asked a question that how invasive alien species reduces biodiversity. They haven't asked directly. They skipped this level and they asked one of the impact of invasive alien species. You see that? It's a very simple question, But actually, there is a certain level of complexity involved in this. If you do not pay attention, probably this is the easiest question if you ask me. But it involves its own complexity. நீங்க இது தெரியலனா உங்களுக்கு இது என்ன கஷ்டம் தெரிஞ்சிருக்கும். The next question we will see. Most of the world's coral reefs are in tropical waters. More than 1/3 of the world's coral reefs are located in the territories of Australia, Indonesia, Philippines. Coral reefs host far more number of animal phyla than those hosted by tropical rainforests. In this whole topic, I'm very sure that you mostly would have been aware of tropical waters because of the temperature requirement, right? Usually. The optimum temperature of coral growth is about 19 degrees Celsius to 26 degrees Celsius. We know that. The optimum temperature range. But in the temperature range important, don't worry. This is not actually content. But you can take notes, but that is not actual purpose. I would like to explore how the thinking works. How you would have thought. How you would have guessed this answer. I don't know. You would have seen the board. You would have read this statement. But I guess I don't know how many people have focused in this word reefs. How many people have focused on this word reefs? Fine. Because when we say corals, there are actually two types of corals. What are called as soft corals and hard corals. Soft corals does not live in symbiotic association with, you would have read, zooxanthellae, algae, phytoplanktons, you put anything. That is why they can be found in cold waters, or they can be found until up to 6 kilometers under the sea. But what is called as hard corals is what called as reef building corals. What would have happened, you know? You would have read somewhere about corals, what is called as cold corals, deep sea corals. You would have read somewhere. You would have confused the deep sea corals with this. Oh, deep sea corals, it is found in it is found in poles also. But they are asking about tropical waters. Will it be wrong? Your thinking is not wrong. Please understand. The point is they are talking about reefs. Reef building corals. That point you have to take the right part of the question. I'm telling you guys, reef building in the focus panni, if you focus on this, you would have usually got it right. Of course, it is found in tropical waters, 30 degrees now to 30 degrees south, between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. That is where the largest distribution of core reef building corals are found. So, yes, it is a correct answer. It's a correct statement. Now, once you know this is correct statement, okay, let's move one by one. So, this either this or this or this, right? We can eliminate this. It's a normally that's how we will do, right? Okay. Now you have to choose whether 2 and 3 is right or not. Let us go to 2. More than 1/3 of the world's coral reefs. Oh, more than 1/3. Okay. I'm not sure. 33%. I don't know. But okay, let's see. Coral reefs. Once again, they are talking about reefs, which means let's see how this supplements tropical region already. You understand? There is always a takeaway clue for the second statement in the first statement itself. Are you aware of this? Have you thought about it? Why not, if not before? If you have that live looking of a statement, I'm telling you guys, without diversion, without distraction, without any fear, you have to go to the exam as a warrior, without fear. I'm telling you, your mind will work magic. Don't pre-conclude. That's what I will say. Don't pre-conclude, prejudge. So coral reefs are located in the territories of Australia. I somewhere know Great Barrier Reefs on the northeastern of Australia, known to be one of the biggest reefs. I know about that. But once again, remember, reefs is important, not corals. But the point is, have you focused on this word? Because that is a key word. Indonesia, Philippines. Oh, is there any link here? Probably one clue is tropical waters. This is for those who have done a very brief reading. But if you've done some deeper reading into the subject already, have you came across a concept called as coral triangle? Have you came across what is called as coral triangle? The Southeast Asia இப்படி வரும், Japan போகும், Australia is here, Solomon Islands will be here. This whole part is called as coral triangle. Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, Australia, Solomon Islands, and another island group called as Timor-Leste. Timor-Leste, Timor-Leste. See, when we say coral triangle as a very significant part of East Asia, with a high reef building densities, then that obviously has to be having more density, right? Get it or not? Yes, it's also correct. So 1 and 2 is correct. So this also is eliminated. It is either this or this. See, to explain the whole process, I'm going slow. Examination la panningna, you know what is the average time you have? 1.2 minutes. Approximately you have 1.2 minutes for one question. Now, ரொம்ப pressure பண்ண, I feel like I'm putting you guys more into a corner and kind of, no, I'm not scaring you. I'm just telling you and stating the facts. Okay? So be ready for that. I'm trying to exposing the enemy, the nature of the enemy. And you as a warrior, get ready for that. Next, once again, coral reefs. Never leave even a single word. Don't leave even a word a. And, was, is. That will give a lot of clue for you. Will be. Never lose focus for even a single word. So coral reefs host far more number of animal phyla than those hosted by tropical rainforests. Oh, this is very confusing. But what happened is usually for tropical rainforest, one of the most productive ecosystem. Have you thought that way naturally, or what you guys thought? Can you please share what you guys thought when you're seeing this statement? Assuming that you have only a fair idea about this, you only have disjointed information here and there scattered. Now you have to think about it, right? What first comes to you? Let it be wrong. Let it be wrong, no problem. Please. And let it be correct also. There is nothing called as correct or wrong. It's all about how you relate it to the statement, guys. When the mind says something, you have to find it whether it's a correct relation or wrong relation. Wrong relation, discard it. Don't think it's a right recalling. You need to know that discrimination. You understand? So what you can relate in what way? Coral reefs and tropical rainforest, what else is coming up into your memory once you touch this topic? Can you compare productivity? You were touched about productivity. What else comes to you? More productive, yes. Any other relation? Oh, but here they are asking about coral reefs and diversity. They are not asking productivity. So it's a wrong relation. Throw that away. Anything, what else comes? But if you think productivity is a right, if that's the first idea comes to a mind, and if you think that no, rainforests are more productive, if you do not process what the mind brings to the memory, if you don't process it and thinks that's right, you will say this is a wrong statement. Then what you will choose? You will choose 1 and 2 as right. Yes or no? But the point is this, please realize, when you come across a statement, when you bring back the memory, please understand what comes to you, you have to relate it to the statement. Mind is bringing randomly the memory of what you have read. If you do not relate it and verify that, what is verification? Oh, this is about productivity. This is about diversity of animals. They are not related. Throw that. Now, Narisamyu, because of the very fear and the tension in the heart, we don't do that. We think it's a wrong statement. Any other thing that you can, okay, first one is discarded. Anything else? Rainforest of the oceans. It is also called as what? What's another name for coral reefs? Rainforest of the oceans. In NCRT, biodiversity chapter, I think chapter 14 or 15, I think, there is a small line about diversity of species. Have you came across that? In animals, in animals, which is the most diverse group? You know, insects. Okay, fine, let's leave it. Coral reefs can't be talked about in insects. Leave it. Now let's come to vertebrates. Among vertebrates, which is most diverse? It's an NCRT actually. See, this is how you need to relate it. You are talking about diversity. Immediately, see, this is how your thoughts should be focusing on. Of course, you can think anything, but what you have to think, oh, where I studied about animal diversity, you need to recollect that way. You cannot generally think or generally try to recollect memory. Okay, you have to be specific, try to think. If you don't get it, no problem, you have to take risk. But if you can get it right. So in NCRT, there is, in fact, there is a pie chart which says that among vertebrates, fishes are the most diverse. Fishes are the most diverse vertebrate animals. And coral reefs, fishes. They are even more diverse than birds. So tropical rainforest, consider. Actually, next to fishes, we have birds are the most diverse. Then naturally, who will be most? Coral reefs. You also would have heard another point, like rainforests of the oceans. You also would have studied. This is how you need to add strength to your guess. It's a guesswork, right? You're doing guesswork. You would have heard coral reefs cover only 1% of the ocean floor. Have you came across this comparison? எந்த coral reefs எடுத்தாலுமே first paragraphல இதுதான் போட்டிருப்பாங்க. But it is home to 1/3 of the biological diversity in oceans. It means one of the most diverse. Now, based on this assumption, what can you say? It's a right statement. The answer is this. 1, 2, and 3 is the right answer. See what we have learned here in this question. The common mistake of not observing what is a key part of the statement. First one. Second, your guessing must be focused based on question. You should not guess generally. For example, in the first attempt, I said compare productivity between coral reefs and rainforests. That's a random guess. Don't do that random guess. It must be precise guess. Oh, in terms of diversity, have you came across? You understand? So you have to train in this way. When you come across kind of a guessing statement, you must always guess in relation to the question. For example, even an Aadhaar question which came last year. Rather than thinking generally, you have to think, have you ever came across a small bit of news where they talk about Aadhaar integration into services? You have to think specifically, not generally about Aadhaar. Get it? Okay. Let's move to the next. Which of the following statements best describes carbon fertilization? Okay, we have 4 statements. Increased plant growth due to increased concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Oh. Second statement. Increased temperature of Earth due to increased concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Oh. Increased acidity of oceans as a result of increased concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Adaptation of all living beings on Earth to the climate change brought about by the increased concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. You all would have gone through this question already. You know what's the right answer. No. But let's go through the process. Here I would like to mention another common mistake that we will do. The common mistake is, it's a famous statement made by the greatest philosopher that Tamil has ever produced, Vadivelu. வெளியா இருக்கிறோம் போய் சொல்ல மாட்டான் அப்படின்னா தெரியுமா? You know that? Okay, fine. Just a joke, guys. Okay, you don't have to laugh, but you don't have to give that look also. Fine. So it's a very common slang that's been used, you know. So what the point is, what I'm trying to say here, another common mistake. You are looking for a part of the question which of the following best describes to the statements. Sometimes, because this carbon fertilization may not be an area which is not known before, which you have not read before, your mind will compensate by taking what is right for your perspective. For example, you will think B is a right statement. See, please understand, I'm not talking about carbon fertilization. You see the statement itself. Increased temperature of Earth due to increased concentration of CO2, global warming. Yes or no? Global warming. It's a correct statement. The statement is right. The statement is not wrong. Second, increased acidity of oceans as a result of increased concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. It's called ocean acidification. Yes or no? Yes. It's a right statement. What about this? Increased plant growth due to increased concentration of carbon dioxide. We know that plants depends on carbon dioxide. More the carbon dioxide, faster the growth. It's a correct statement. Photosynthesis. What generally we will do as a fault here, you will try to see what is the most correct statement here and choose it. In the process, you will forget what this is. See, I want to tell you guys, now it will make sense. Because I'm explaining it and you're in a very casual, relaxed mood. Yeah, it all seems true. But I'm telling you, when you sit in the examination hall, the very way that you think and the very way you respond will be totally different. Right? Usually you will choose this, you know, wrong. Among this, you will choose what is the most appropriate or most related statement if you don't think very clearly. It seems like a very simple statement. I'm telling you, this is where the mechanical errors, the prejudgments comes into the picture. Here, in fact, the right answer is this. Fertilization, let's say, you don't know this concept. How to approach this, how to think about it, how to apply our logic. Shall we do that? Let's see how to work on our guesses. So they're asking about best description. Okay, it's not a perfect description, but best description, close to the answer. Second, they're asking about carbon. Okay, fertilization. Where in other places you come across the word fertilization? Fertilizers. Very close. You come across is fertilizers. And what do we do for fertilizers? We apply the fertilizers to the soil to promote the growth of the plant. You get it? So fertilization means applying of fertilizers. The zation, ION vandale process and artham. The word ION means some kind of a process. So the word fertilization has something to do with growth of plants. That's what the idea is. Probably if you think, I would like to give one clue here. One hint. Let's say that you are guessing this question. Okay, or even in examination hall you guess. What I would like to tell you is, always find a second substantial reasoning for that guess. For example, first guess what you made? Fertilization, fertilizer, increasing growth of the plant. Fertilization means increasing growth of the process of increasing growth. You get it? This is first justification, you get it. But don't stop here. How would you know? How would you verify this is a right thinking or not? You have to find a second justification for that. Whenever you guess, the questions in UPSC, if possible, try to think second right context for that statement. Please do that. இந்த வகையில பண்ணீங்கன்னா, if you do that, the kind of mistakes you do, no? I'll tell you guys. Let's say in the first guess you get it right. Oh, growing fertilizers, imagine. But second guesswork, let's say, it is totally contrary to what you got. One guesswork is making it closer, true to the statement. Another guesswork is making it wrong to the statement. What you have to do, which means it's a dilemma question. And the second panlana, if you don't do that second, would you know that? So if it is an area where you can guess after the first guess is made and know this is the right answer, try to get a second guess also, if possible. Otherwise, choose it. But make an attempt for the second guess to justify that. Where else you come across fertilization? For example, another word, iron fertilization. Have you heard about this word, iron fertilization? Iron fertilization is a process used in oceans to increase the growth of algae, to absorb more atmospheric carbon dioxide. To absorb more carbon dioxide, atmospheric carbon dioxide, they wanted to increase the growth of algae. For that, they will add iron. This is called as iron fertilization. It is actually a type of biological sequestration of carbon. Biological sequestration of carbon. One of the method. Here also, fertilization, what happens? Oh, same thing. They give iron, it grows faster, it grows better. So there is a growth of plant, growth of algae. So 2 is the right answer. In 2 different contexts, it gives the same meaning. You get it? So when you guess, try to find second guess to the same context. If in both contexts it comes right, choose it. It has to be right. Get it? Okay. Let's see the next. Which of the following is or the possible, okay, once again, possible, never leave a single word. Possible consequences of heavy sand mining in river beds. Heavy sand mining in river beds. So sand mining, immediately once you read that, immediately how your imagination works. Lorries going onto the river beds, dredging onto the river bank and taking all that, and an officer coming and standing in the middle of the lorry, and the lorry ramping him down. You know that an engineer sacrificed his life for this very thing, sand mafia. So obviously all this will come to you. Fine. What you will understand, the normal river bed, because of mining, it gets deeper. So this layer is lost. Simply, this is how you'll understand, right? This is how you imagine, right? Yes or no? Now you understand. Oh, if this happens, what are the possible consequences? Decreased salinity in the river. Okay. Once again, the moment you see decreased salinity, I'm telling you, everything looks different here. In the examination, all it won't be. I'm giving you clues, guys. Never ever leave a single word. Decreased salinity. Salinityக்கு எவ்வளவு focus தரீங்களோ அதே focus இதுக்கும் தாங்க. Decreased salinity. இந்த இடத்துல நிறைய பேருக்கு என்ன தெரியுமா நடக்கும்? Blind spots will come. They will read decreased, but they'll think as increased. They'll think right. It will happen. And I'm warning you, and I'm kind of giving a warning sign. No, don't do that. இதெல்லாம் avoid பண்ண. You all know that. Because because the sand, see, if this layer of sand is available, all the salts in the deeper earth, they move up towards capillary activity. They move up. If the sand is there, it will take a long distance to move up. These salts are actually salinized salts. When they move up, obviously they will bring salinity. If the river bed is having these river sands, that stops that movement to a certain level. But if that layer if that layer of sand is lost, it's a very short distance of upward movement. Capillary movement is very short. Salinization happens. The key point is somewhere I read salinization because of mining happens due to capillary movement of salts. So it will increase the salinity, not decrease. So likewise, you need to have many concepts. In this context, we have with the mining of the river sand, there is a increase in salinity. The same time, when there is a flooded waters, there also there will be increase in salinity and alkalinity. You guys know that? Yes. So you try to relate concepts like this. Where or not salinity increases in what context? Where alkalinization happens? Try to remember that. So here there is not a decrease, but there is an increase in salinity. So this is a wrong. Okay, here I would like to say another point. How much anger you will feel when a person jumps the queue. Let's imagine it's a queue for vaccine and everybody is dying. Let's imagine that. You have to get your vaccine. If somebody jumps the queue, how angry you will feel? You should never jump the queue, right? As a civilized citizen. But you know what usually students do? When they read, they will find the most closest, most known statement. Here they will go there first. Never do that. Always go in the same order as given in the question. Don't jump. Don't jump. Nothing wrong with that. If you are very confident that you will look each word and you will not miss any word, you can go with that way. But that you cannot afford for 100 questions. You may do that. You may have that focus for first 10 questions, first 20 questions. But 50, 60 questions are over, your stamina will low down. You will lower your guard. You will feel tired. That is where your defense will come down in the examination hall. So, as a SOP, like every government organization have their own SOP, standard operating procedure. This is what I would like to give you as a standard operating procedure. Always move in the same order as the question. Go 1, then 2, then 3. If you don't know first statement, then go to second. And then go to third. Never jump because you know third. Okay? And another point I would like to tell you. This mechanical errors of jumping words. Some words you will have you ever witnessed it, experienced it? That you finish the examination, all you come out and you discuss with your friends, and that's the time you say, "Hey, this is the word I never seen it, man. It was not in the print at all." Have you observed it? To avoid that, you have to use a pen or a pencil to mechanically move along the words. You do that when you attempt a question, move mechanically word by word. It looks very childish suggestion. It looks very naive, but our mistakes makes us and force us to do that. So mechanically trace every word you are reading. This also will help in slowing down your reading, because you have to move slow, but your eye will try to go faster. It wants to cover as much as possible. Why hurry? You are not going to catch a bus. You are here to catch a bus. Actually, you are to catch the seat at Missouri, not to catch a bus here. Nobody is going to give you any reward in completing in 1.5 hours. Why rushing? I've seen many students finishing by 1.5 hours and sitting. And I wonder how many errors they made. So, no rush. But you need to work on your time for the paper too, no doubt with that. But for paper 1, you will have enough time, guys. Believe that. You will have enough time. Don't try to rush it. Utilize these 2 hours, the golden hours, 2 hours. Okay? Never underutilize it. Never underutilize it. So, trace word by word. That will slow down your reading. And that will help in better understanding and comprehension of the words. In the mock test, I'm trying to giving you small tips. See, this question is only a template to initiate the thinking. The thinking is what I'm more focused rather than on the question. Please understand that. Okay. So try to incorporate this. Otherwise, there is no use in listening. Don't waste your 2 hours. I want to be quite frank with you. Okay. So this decreases salinity is a wrong statement. So obviously this is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. Got it. You got answer straightforward. 2 and 3 is the right answer. You don't have to worry anything. Straight away move to the next question because you know absolutely this is wrong. It's right. That's the right answer. 2 and 3 is the only remaining. This kind of questions, UPSC clearly knows where usually the problem lies, where usually the students, aspirants make error. They know very well that we are living in a world of distractions. Okay, we are living. You are sitting alone, but there is a whole world surrounding you. You have your own world of social media, so many distractions. You guys realize that your attention is actually very short-lived and very fickle. You guys realize it? That is very hard. You have to be extremely forcing yourself to focus on one thing. It's not easy to keep that. It's not very easy. UPSC knows it very well. That is where they keep the check. One area, 3 statements. You know what is the check? What's happening in the question? Let's say carbon fertilization. 1 statement, 2 statement, 3 statement. What you have to do is, this is how actually happens in your mind. If you allow me to explain, it is like, you know, holding 2 things in your 2 hands. In the one hand, you have to hold in your focus carbon fertilization, and in the other hand, you have to look at statement 1, compare. Statement 2, compare. You see, this is what actually happens. But if you're not good enough, if you lose this will catch something else, which is closer. And what you hold next, you know, you may find a better fit. No, wrong answer. I'm telling you, this happens. But it all happens so involuntarily, so unconsciously, you won't realize it. Once again, I'm saying we are traveling in a very abstract area. What I'm talking is actually how your thinking happens. You can only relate yourself. I cannot give more description for that, okay? But try to relate it. How do you think? You always keep one and compare with the statement. You should never miss this. Now, the problem here is UPSC is giving you 2 things in your hand, you have to compare. UPSC knows very well. They're giving 2 concepts, and that is where nowadays questions are coming. The comparative questions, you know, in the last few years, they are giving 2 concepts in a comparative mode in statements, which means you have to hold 2 things at the hand and you have to compare with the third thing. It's very testing for your focus. It's very testing. You understand the depth of what UPSC wants to do it? It's not very easy, guys. I'm telling you, it's not very easy. In the question 80th or 90th question, you are already tired of your so much of focus. Have you felt all your energy is drained once you come out of the 2 hours of the examination? You are sitting in the chair. You are not doing any exertive works. சும்மா 2 மணி நேரம் யோசிக்கிறதுக்கு அவ்வளோ டயர்டா இருக்குன்னா why? Because that needs a lot of energy. It's not easy. That's very draining. And remember that. You have to focus and keep in mind all what I'm trying to say here in the mock tests and get ready for it. So here, you have to compare NGT and Pollution Control Board. And I'm very sure this year also, we will have at least 2 or 3 questions in this way, comparing 2 different concepts. Please mark my words. I don't know which area. I cannot guess that. I cannot say that. Because I'm not an astrologer. I can't do that. But I know the intention of UPSC. What they want to test. They want to test the attention. They want to test, are you focused? Are you the one who with the focus or not? So, National Green Tribunal, different. I don't know. Sometimes we will take this, but we will not focus whether it is similarity that they are asking or different. You lose focus. You will start, you read it, but once you progress into the statement, you will miss it. All the small slips always happens when you read it. You guys understand what I'm trying to convey? You will forget whether they're asking difference. But most of the time, once you go through that, you will never see it again. உங்க கண்ணுக்கு அது தெரியாது. You will never see it. It becomes invisible. So never miss even a single word. That's what I would like to say. Never miss even a single word. Now let's see that. National Green Tribunal has been established by an act. This is something that we know very clearly, right? NGT Act 2010. We know that very well. Whereas the CPCB has been created by an executive order of the government. So probably we would have read, if you read, this is something that we cannot make many guesses. But probably where you can guess is any organization that has punitive powers usually are legally established. That's a clue you need to have. If they don't have the legal powers, the opposition will not let the government to sleep in peace. What happened to Aadhaar before 5 years? UIID Act was established just for the very reason. Even before an act came, Aadhaar was intended to be generalized for delivery of services. And all the opposition government, they say, how can you roll out without a proper legislation? You understand? So, engalam punitive power varudo, there always will be a legislation backing it. CPCB, SPCB, they have punitive powers, right? They have the power to investigate. They have the power to seal a company if they are polluting. They have the power to issue guidelines. So they must be backed by a law. Probably they would have been established initially by an executive order. Let's not worry. I'm just guessing. But based on what I've read generally, even if I don't know, I know clearly it must have been established by an act. Yes or no? So when they say executive order, then it's a wrong statement. But exactly, can you guys tell me what act established CPCB? Water Act 1974. Water Act 1974. So this is a wrong statement. So 1 is wrong, both 1 and 2 is wrong. We are left with either B or D. Second statement. The NGT provides environmental justice and helps reduce the burden of litigation in higher courts. Yeah, National Green Tribunal, a very special court for environmental litigations of environmental laws in our country, where these kind of cases have to be directed only to NGT. So there is a burden lowering in the higher courts. Seems very logical. Whereas the CPCB promotes cleanliness of streams and wells and aims to improve the quality of air in the country. Yeah, I came across many times where CPCB comes with the guidelines in many aspects. So that has to be a correct one. I don't have to know clearly and remember what are the functions of CPCB. I'm just guessing. Yes? So second has to be a correct statement. So the answer is, so then D won't come. The correct answer is B. So what you can get from here? What you can understand from here? Of course, you have to guess lot of questions in UPSC without a doubt. You have to make a guesswork. Realize it. Realize it. If you have to clear this prelims, you have to guess it. You have to do guesswork. But please understand, this guesswork must be on a very logical basis. As I said earlier, you have to have at least, if possible, 2 guesses justifying that. I already told you that, right? You have to have the first guess and try to justify that. When both are met, then go ahead, it has to be a right statement. And you need to know where exactly you focus. Here, cleanliness of streams and wells. There are many river guidelines for pollution. There is also quality of air in the country. They are asking about National Ambient Air Quality Standards, NAAQ, released by CPCB. Exactly, I don't know, but I know that's been associated with CPCB, right? I have 2 justifications for that. In fact, 3. It has to be a right statement. You get it? So don't jump. The moment your mind gives one memory, a content, the moment you see that, Cross check it. Good. The next, the same 2018. A definition of critical wildlife habitat is incorporated in the Forest Rights Act 2006. I know Forest Rights Act. It is an act that I came across where the tribals were conferred the justice which have been denied for them since the colonial administration. We all know that, in fact, among the Indian laws, no law has been open enough to accept the mistake it has done to these tribal communities. They use the word historic injustice, guys. You know, every act usually have what is called as objectives. Beginning. In this Forest Rights Act 2006, they say it is an act to correct the historic injustice meted out to the forest dwellers. Government itself accepts they have been meted out injustice. We can very rarely see laws like that, where the government takes responsibility for that. But I remember forest dwellers, it gives individual rights, it gives community rights. I know set of rights, including NISTA rights. I can remember all that. But I don't remember clearly critical wildlife habitat. Be open, accept. If you don't know, accept it. Don't push too much. If you push too much, then you are guessing blindly. Accept you don't know this. Why? Because we are talking about Forest Rights Act, but actually the word wildlife comes, you will immediately think about WPA 1972. Yes or no? Yes or no? That's how we will think, right? So this is kind of little risky. Accept you don't know. Don't say wrong. If you say wrong, that is also wrong. I don't know. Then move to the next. For the first time in India, Baigas have been given habitat rights. This is nothing to guess. Either you should know it or you don't know it. It's a particular tribe in Madhya Pradesh. We already talked about Forest Rights Act gives two kind of rights: habitat rights and community rights. And under this habitat rights, first time in our country, okay, it was given in 2017. The first community to receive them was Baigas. What happened in 2017? Remember the relevance. They asked the question in 2018. So yes, it's a right statement. So 2 is right. So this is wrong. This can be correct. This can be correct. This can be correct. Then let's see the third statement. Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. One second. See how UPSC tests. Because they are given critical wildlife, they are giving MOEF. If you're not properly focused with the statement, if you're not properly focusing, you will fall for it. You will fall for it. Let's read the statement fully. Union Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change officially decides and declares habitat rights of primitive and vulnerable tribal groups in any part of India. There is something which is unusual about this statement, which doesn't fit well with my logic. So they are talking about habitat rights. Probably because they are talking about wildlife habitat, I can somehow think probably MOEF might be involved to some degree. But let's continue. For primitive and vulnerable tribes, that is in fact the domain of Ministry of Tribal Affairs. It is not something that MOEF has to do, right? So this, I'm not very justified. I'm feeling it very off the mark. It is not off the logic. Then it says any part of India. MOEF jurisdiction extends only to the forest and protected areas. That I'm very clear, right? Please understand. The so-called gurus, which I talked about earlier, whenever the word any comes, say it wrong. If you do that, it might be correct for this statement, but not always. But not always. But here, this any part of India justify with the statement. Oh, MOEF. Can it have the jurisdiction in any part of India? No. They have their own jurisdiction, forest and wildlife. இங்க சப்ஜெக்ட் பாத்தீங்கன்னா கன்கரண்ட் லிஸ்ட்ல ஃபாரஸ்ட் அண்ட் வைல்ட் லைஃப், தட்ஸ் வாட் ஃபால்ஸ் அண்டர் MOEF, not any part of India. So wrong. So 3 is wrong. So this is wrong, this is wrong. The correct answer is 1 and 2. For this question, the correct answer, you don't have to worry about this. Forget it. But here the correct answer is 1 and 2. You understand? So here, it is not about this question or understanding what is the knowledge it gives. Please understand how the thinking has to go. Okay? How to approach the question is what I would like to teach you guys, is what I would like to show to you. How to teach and how to approach unknown areas. Okay. Now, for this question, I'm not going to say anything. Okay? I'm going to ask you questions and you implement what you listened so far. Now, pay attention to the question. Do not skip any word, as if your whole life rests on that one word. Pay attention to every single word slowly, then read through the questions. If you do it with enough focus, your mind itself will give you right area where the clue is. Do that, please. Okay. So when you read the question, the Partnership for Action on Green Economy page, let us assume you haven't came across this. An organization you don't know. Fine. So it actually, so then it automatically falls under which round? Second round. It's not a first round question. Remember that. But let's say that we are guessing it. We try to guess. An event mechanism. I want to tell you another point. A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, then select the correct options. That may be right, may be wrong. But what comes in this part must be true, shall be true. As per the orders of UPSC, they shall be true. Appo, Partnership for Action on Green Economy, a UN mechanism. Yes, it is an UN mechanism. There is no play of words, there is no play of concept. It is true. So, what you read here will give you a lot of clue because it's a correct statement. Okay? This is correct. UN mechanism to assist countries transition towards greener and more inclusive. Oh, greener. Greener means I can think something related to climate change or something. I can think something. Oh, greener now. How it will help the transition? I'm thinking in that way. How it helps transition? Okay, fine. I'm not still very clear. No image is coming conclusively coming to me. Then it says more inclusive economies. Oh, they're talking about inclusive economic development, inclusive growth. Yes. So greener and inclusive. That rings a bell. I know very clearly it has nothing to do with UNFCCC. That has nothing to do with UNFCCC. Why? Because the so-called inclusive economics is not the agenda of UNFCCC. And another point I want to tell you, here also, I want to give you, I carried you along in my thinking, but I would not have thought that way. Greener, you would have thought global warming, I carried you along, but that's not correct. Global warming or UNFCCC talks about cleaner fuels, not greener fuels. If you thought greener fuels and related to UNFCCC, that's wrong. Which means you have not properly looked at the word greener. Greener always comes with respect to sustainable development, inclusive growth. Cleaner, that only comes with pollution or emissions, which is associated with UNFCCC. So, at least you can eliminate C may not be the right answer. It has something to do with sustainable development, inclusive growth. That is where the clue. See, Earth Summit on Development. This is Rio plus 10. World Sustainable Development Summit 2016. I don't know. Then UN Conference on Sustainable Development 2012. Rio de Janeiro, Rio plus 20. But actually speaking, if you ask me, I leave this question. But because sustainable development, the concept of sustainable development has been the key theme in the Rio plus 20 summit, which is what we have, the 17 goals, we call it as sustainable development goals between 2016 to 2030. Because many great developments happened during that time. If I say I have to make a kind of a blind attempt, I will go with this, or something closer to that, this. I won't go long back to 2002 or this. I eliminated it. I will choose either this or this. The correct answer is this. Rio plus 20 is the right answer. So probably if the number of questions you attempted is very less, if you have to make a guess. But if you ask me the wise choice, not to attempt question like this. Because this is a totally blank area, totally unknown. Sir, I have attended only 60 questions, sir. I have to push to 90, sir. Don't worry. Why are you worrying? Whether UPSC says you touch 90 questions, you are hereby cleared, my child. Whether it gives any boon like that? No. Why you are fixing a target for yourself? The point is this: you have to get 110. You have to come 100. I'll say above 105. I'm saying the kind of question that we have right now, you get more than 105, you get clear it. So don't push too much. Don't keep this unrealistic targets. How unrealistic it is. Even before seeing 100 questions, even before knowing what the questions are, you decided you will attend 90 questions. Oh my God. How impractical it is. How can you decide like that without seeing the questions? At least you have to go first round. You have to see 100 questions. How tough it is, how easy it is. Then if you make an assumption, oh, overall the paper looks easy, then I think I can go for 85, 90. Or if the number of questions is tough, then you have to decide. So do not push artificially yourself for these targets. It will bite you more than what it gives. I think I would like to go to, of course, we can see that also. Yeah. So consider the following pairs with respect to wildlife and naturally found in 2019 question. Okay. Oh, bluefin marsh here. The first time I hear this word ever in my life. I don't know. Kaveri river. I know that. But I don't know what this marsh here is. I don't have an idea about it. Airavati dolphin, yes, I came across that. But I also know Airavati is a river in where? Myanmar. Airavati dolphin, then obviously Gangetic dolphin cannot be in Indus River. It doesn't make any sense. So Airavati dolphin must have been with Myanmar. Actually speaking, Myanmar, not only Myanmar, but also Mekong River. And also there was also news where a high density Airavati dolphin was also found in Chilika Lake. But that's apart. That's apart. Here, at least if they given Chilika Lake, I would have chosen it right. But they are giving Chambal River, which is in fact a tributary of Yamuna. Chambal River is a tributary of Yamuna, right? There's no connection with Airavati dolphin and the Chambal River. So I know this is wrong first. This is very well I know it's wrong. So 2, wrong, wrong, wrong. This is a correct answer. Very simple. The point is, of course, there will be few questions which actually helps you like this. You, without getting panicked, if you go with the right balanced mind, with the right focus, you'll get it right. But the point is, your thinking has to come always relevant to what is given. If you think as your own, I'm telling you, you always get wrong answers. Bluefin mahseer, actually, it is actually found in Maharashtra. This is a fish which is found in Maharashtra. In Kaveri River, actually, there is another kind of one, which is actually called as humpbacked mahseer. In fact, this humpback mahseer is considered to be the largest fighter fish Kalipatra Kingla, the one which is carnivorous and kills others. This is the strongest fighter fish in the world. Humpbacked mahseer, found only in South India. It is critically endangered. It is in fact called as tiger of the waters, you believe it. It is a tiger without any stripes. But because of the damming and their movement being blocked, that population is actually under decline. In fact, I tried my level best to see what is the Tamil version, but I couldn't find what is it called in Tamil. But it is one of the most valued cuisine fish, most preferred by the people. Humpbacked mahseer, it actually came in the news, but actually they changed it with what is called as a bluefin. They actually played with that bluefin and humpbacked mahseer. But fine, it's not easy to remember this kind of data. In fact, if you ask me, frankly, sir, உங்களுக்கு தெரியுமா இல்ல. When I want to find a reference, what is I found it. I will not declare that I know everything. I come across where I find reference, then that's how I enhance myself. Not that I know everything. So here, but I can understand. Oh, that is how they played with it. That is how UPSC plays with you. If somewhere you read about humpbacked mahseer related to South India Kaveri, if you don't think properly, you will think this is right. Then this becomes right answer. Fine. The next one, what we said, the so-called gurus say, whenever this kind of words comes, it is always wrong. The statement is wrong. In that way, if every three word has only, then there has to be the option none of the above. It has to be none of the above. Never, don't do that. At least I will say, if you want to try, you want to make just an attempt. But I think no wise aspirant will do that. Blindly swinging the sword, hoping that it will hit the jugular vein of the enemy. No. It won't even touch the enemy. Please understand. Shortcuts. Those people, they depend on shortcuts too much. But why we have to? Okay. Asiatic lion naturally found in India only. If they say lion, I would have been confused. But they clearly say Asiatic lion, very well sure. Yes. Naturally, also they have added the word found in India only. True. It is a correct statement. Yes or no? There is no doubt in that, right? So one only, this has to be, this has to be, or this has to be. This is eliminated. Now what are the options? Idiya vittulla. Now you have to find 1 and 3, 1, 2 and 3. You have to find whether 2 is correct or wrong. That is a key statement, isn't it? Now if you know whether 2, see, you understand how I'm moving? 1, you know already correct. Then you have to find whether 2 and 3 are correct. Now look at the combination. If you find whether 2, then the whole thing is solved. Double humped camel is naturally found in India only. Double humped camel. Camels are known to have more than one humps. But never, see, imagine, if there were double humped camels, do you think our director Shankar would have left it alone? At least they would have shown in one movies, right? But have you ever came across a double humped camel in India? Have you ever came across? Sure? Have you ever came across? Double humped camel is usually found in Australia. See, usually they have like this, let's say this is camel. Imagine it's a camel. Okay, it's like this. Let's say this is double humped camel. In India, it's single humped, not double humped. I don't ever see that. So I'm kind of doubtful with this. I'm not very sure about this because I never came across any image of a double humped camel in India, which is only the Thar desert, only desert. Then we have one horn rhinoceros is naturally found in India only. Now, this is where you have to be very careful. Once again, we becoming pre-judgmental here. No, don't become pre-judgmental. The moment you hear the word one horn rhinoceros, Assam comes to your mind, Kaziranga comes to your mind, the home to the largest rhino population. We all know that. But yes, the point is rhinoceros, Kaziranga, it's all good. Bobby Tora Sanctuary, all good, fine. But the point is, please introspect how you thought. You thought rhinoceros in India or greater one-horned rhinoceros, which is actually the truthful one. You need to be precise, I'm telling you guys. But we usually don't do that. Because it seems like, one-horned rhinoceros, I know in India, Assam, I know that. In the joy of getting the right answer, you miss the clues. You miss the specifics. இந்த மாதிரியான இப்போ ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் ஏசியாட்டிக் லைன் வந்தது. Imagine what will happen if you think only lion. Lion naturally found in India only. Is it a right or a wrong statement? Because in Africa also we can find it. இங்க மட்டும் ஏசியாட்டிக் லைன் பாக்குறீங்க, இந்த இடத்துலயே ஒன் ஹார்ன் ரைனோசரஸ் விட்டீங்க. Why you missed it here? You understand the general mistake we do? It is not just a rhinoceros, greater one horn rhinoceros. Yes or no? If you name it something called as greater one horn rhinoceros, there must be something called as lesser, right? Have you ever came across similar one horn rhinoceros anywhere? Little difficult, I know that. Factually, you may not recollect it. But at least see there is a possibility of something other than that. The one thing is, they missed the word greater here. The clue is, they missed the word greater. They haven't said greater one horn rhinoceros is naturally found. They say one horn rhinoceros. But during my reading, I very well remember it's greater one horn rhinoceros. In fact, there is something called a Javan rhinoceros, which is called as lesser one horn rhinoceros. That is also having only one horn. But the horn that they have is very less dominant than Indian rhinoceros. Our Indian rhinoceros romba பெருசா இருக்கும். They have very less. That is also one horn. So what about third statement? Wrong. So if something is obvious that you very well know, in the மாதிரி questions நான் சொல்றேன், you should never make a mistake. This is something that you know nook and corner. You would have read it 100 times in your 1 year preparation, but you should be clear, something is missing there. These kind of obvious statements, very obvious, you should have a watchful eye. இது எப்போ மிஸ் ஆகும் தெரியுமா? I'll give you a clue. Finding something right, that makes you to miss these clues. Don't fall into the trap. You get it? Another question. Some species of turtles are herbivores. I can give you a kind of a clue. You cannot find a universal law in nature. There is always will be some exceptions. Always there will be exceptions. But I'm very reserved in giving clues like this. In something called as natural laws, particularly biological laws, if something comes in terms of absolutism, be careful. There is something hidden in that. Some species of turtles are herbivores. Herbivores I've seen eating fishes. But I also seen herbivores, it's eating the pictures I've seen, it's eating sea grasses on the ocean floor. And um, logically speaking, I think turtles are not something who are so active and so probably in waters they are very good. They swim faster, but I don't think they are very agile enough to capture these kind of things. So some might be good enough, but larger they have to eat plants which are very easy to eat. Yes or no? Easily, right? It has to be herbivore, so it has to be correct statement. Please understand, I read about it, but I want to tell you how the thinking happens. Okay. Second, some species of fish are herbivores. Yeah, the same true. I remember about shark eating other fishes. Yeah, so, but I also have some fishes which are eating the detrivores, the decay matter. நம்ம bottom cleaners ன்னு சொல்லுவோம் அவங்கள. We call them as a bottom cleaners or detrivore fishes. Benthos ன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. We call them as benthos. So, yeah, if they can eat other fishes and some fishes are eating decay matter, obviously they have to eat herbivores also, right? They have to eat some plant material also, right? So this is also, it also seems to be correct. So 1 and 2 is correct. If you see, the combination comes only here in D. Or if you go further, some species of marine mammals are herbivores. Try to think. Some species of marine mammals are herbivores. Okay. What are the marine mammals I think of? I think of dolphins, sea cow. The very name itself says it's an herbivore. Sea cow, I read dugong. Gulf of Mannar, which is a keystone species in Gulf of Mannar. Yeah. But I also know about dolphins, which eats other fishes. It's a carnivore. But there is some herbivore also. So 1, 2, 3 is correct. Then obviously this only is correct. Don't worry about the fourth one and all. That is also correct. Some snakes are viviparous, like king cobra. I'm sorry, python. Python is known to give rise to, it lays young ones. It's viviparous. Oviparous means it lay eggs. From the eggs they hatch out. But there are actually snakes which actually give birth to young ones like mammals. They are called as viviparous. All the 4 statements are correct. The next question, kampa. So, in fact, the same kind of ideology, what I've tried to tell you, probably I think I've given you some 5 or 6, but it's get repeated in different formats in different questions, but the ideology is actually the same. Always revisit the guess you make. If possible, find a second justification for that. 3, do not run, slow, and see the question in entirety. These are the 2 basic things which I said earlier. We are coming to the last phase of our discussion. So let's try to apply that here. Let's say that you don't know. Let's approach this question. Let's say that you don't know. Let's approach it. Pure guess. Let's make a pure guess from what you have read so far. Apply that. As per law. Oh, based on law. The Compensatory Afforestation Fund Management and Planning Authority, oh, CAMPA, they are talking about CAMPA, okay. Exist at both national and state levels. I very well know state CAMPA and national CAMPA. I came across that. In fact, if not that, I very well know that in terms of fund allocation for the compensatory afforestation and the NPV collections, all that, 90% is given to who? State governments. The fund collected, 90% of the fund is allotted to state governments and 10% is taken up by the central government. If state government is taking up 90% of the funds for compensatory afforestation, don't you think there has to be some kind of an authority? There has to be someone to oversee that. I have 2 justifications for my guess. I read national CAMPA, state CAMPA. I also read 90% and 10% allocation ratio. I know that very well. So this has to be correct. So this is not wrong. I'm sorry, this is not right. This is not right. At least now I eliminate 50%. This is more than enough, I will say. We are closer to the right answer. Let's see the next one. People's participation is mandatory. I'm not sure. Realize you don't know. The why I'm saying that is because the moment you would say you know, hey, be careful. Once you say you don't know, immediately you become very focused. You become very careful. Oh, what's going to come next? You'll watch with your full attention. People's participation is mandatory. No, I'm not very sure about it. In the just a minute. In the compensatory afforestation programs, okay, carried out under the Compensatory Afforestation Fund Act 2016. Oh, they are once again asking under the act. Under the act, whether the public participation is mandatory or not for programs. See, in this statement, they give in this end of the, at the beginning of the statement. Here they're giving at the end. Unless you are focused completely, I'm telling you, you will focus on more on mandatory for people participation, you will forget under the law. You will forget it. Yes or no? But if you think that way, you will be confused. Probably you may get right answer, probably, but it's risky. The point is, once again, see how they play with your focus, UPSC. On one statement, they give one end of the statement, on the other statement, they give the other end. The point is, under this CAF Act, Compensatory Afforestation Act 2006. Okay, let's work on it. In your common reading, where you came across people's participation? Here, we are talking about participation for compensatory afforestation programs. Fine. But where else you came across people's participation being mandatory? Now, this is how it is like, I'm trying to help you guys to focus your torch on the right area. You're struggling now. Switch on your torch. You can do that. Where else you came across people's participation in these kind of activities? Environmental governance. Forest rights, yes. So that come under FRA 2006, right? Forest Rights Act means involvement of Gram Sabha actually. That is involvement of Gram Sabha. If, in fact, there are 6 guidelines, 6 points. All the 6, I don't remember what are the 6, but I very well know 6. There are 6 instructions in which every instruction must be followed. If a forest dweller is deprived of the rights, and 6 condition meet பண்ணாதான் அவங்க ரைட் எடுக்க முடியும். One of that is concurrence of Gram Sabha. So involvement of people mandatory, but that is for FRA, not CAF. Okay, where else I came across? Work on it. Where else you come across public participation? இப்ப நான் சொன்னேன்னு வைங்களா அப்படின்னு சொல்வீங்க. You have to switch on the torch. Man, people's participation, environmental permission, எங்கெல்லாம் உங்களுக்கு லிங்க் பண்ண முடியும்? Environmental impact assessment, EIA. There was even a controversy over that, right? Yes or no? But EIA comes under which act? EPA. EPA 1986. That doesn't come under CAF. And ultimately, CAF is an act what? CAF is an act that speaks about the devolution of funds for afforestation programs. It has nothing to do with the participation. So in all likelihood, it has to be a right or wrong statement. In fact, it's a wrong statement. It's not correct. In the Indian context, the people participation actually happens in MG and Riga, social sector schemes, leave that. But in legislative arena, we have these two, FRN and EPA 1986. Yes? You got it? So, I know that 2019, 2020, but what I believe in one thing is this. If a learning can happen in one question, in one insight, you don't need anything further. That itself is enough. You can stop there. If learning doesn't happen even in 100 questions, you will never learn it. Either you learn it or not. So there is no, really speaking, there is no usefulness in covering all the questions. If what being discussed, if you take just two things, but remember, everything what we discussed here is for psychological. Your state of mind, your focus during that point. That is why sir would have told you, read with a very high focus during the examination time. Did sir say that? Why? You need to train for that focus during that time. Yes or no? So, sir would have told. Whether sir said anything about diet? Why? Because try to be vegetarian for some times. That has a greater impact on your focus. Because you need to have more energy for this, not for this. There is a diversion of energy. It will take a lot of toll to divert your digestive power to that. Right? That's the reason. So, what I would like to tell you is, of course, 50% is what you have read. But the remaining 50% is how you handle yourself in the examination hall. Right? So, do the mock tests. You would have taken notes where and all usually the traps would be set. Traps are not like words, not any. No, I don't believe that kind of gurus. The traps really which plays with the mind traps. You identify what traps that you are mostly falling onto. Identify that. And then from the next test onwards, you make sure that you work on it. I'm telling you, this 24 days is great, more than enough to correct it. See, let's say that you are a person who don't know how white looks like. If somebody comes, oh, this is what white is, and you understood white, do you have to see, I forgot white, this is what white is, do you have to do it? No. You have to realize it once. The moment that learning happens, you will never forget it. But make sure that learning happens. Yes or no? Good. So, with the belief that I try to touch something abstract, I don't know, but I try to give something useful really to get better performance in examination. So please try these in your mock tests and try to say me whether it works or not. Or if you guys want, you can also contact, sir, this is what happened, this is what that I felt, I couldn't find out. Yes, you can come back. You can always contact us. So thank you guys. Thank you for the time. The 2 hours that you given now is not an easy time. It's a very worthy time. 24 hours before the examination, if I'm asking you guys to sit for 2 hours, it's not easy. I have to make it worthy for you guys. And I hope that I try to do it. So work on it. And I'm saying, you guys are awesome. You're really doing work. But use your mind also. You are capable enough to clear this examination. Prove that your mettle is strong enough than what UPSC examiners are. They want to make you fools, but I'm saying you fool them. You are capable of that. My best wishes, guys. Do well, right? See you later. Bye.